Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now it is happening. We're starting to see a breakout from this bullish price pattern as the price is now exactly wiping out this liquidity on the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, while Bitcoin is also forming a massive new price pattern that we need to pay attention to because this is setting up a massive new bullish price target, and we're getting very close to confirming a breakout here. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment alongside Ethereum and Solana, and of course other altcoins, but Ethereum and Solana are now officially bouncing and confirming the retest of this critical level of support for both Ethereum and Solana. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before we take a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, taking a look at some Bitcoin news today, because just on Wednesday, we saw a massive net inflow that made up for the outflow on Tuesday. Obviously, if you watched my last video just yesterday, you'll know about the outflow that we saw from the Bitcoin ETFs on Tuesday of around $342 million, which is potentially one of the reasons as to why we saw that short-term dump just a couple of days ago. But once again, just over the last one day on Wednesday, we saw a net inflow of over $400 million US, around $407.8 million US coming into the Bitcoin ETFs just on Wednesday. And so this is also potentially one of the reasons as to why we've seen the recent recovery and the recent bullish price action for Bitcoin due to new demand coming in just on Wednesday through the spot Bitcoin ETFs. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin price charts today, looking at the weekly time frame, the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. And if we're taking a look at this weekly time frame, at least for now, the momentum is relatively flat. As we can see, it's technically slightly more bullish than it is bearish because obviously it's in the positive direction. It's not in the red here. We've not seen a bearish crossover. But with that being said, we're still kind of lacking bullish momentum on the weekly time frame. And taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, of course, we still have a bearish divergence to watch out for with higher highs in the price and lower highs in the RSI. And now this could potentially temporarily invalidate if we see a breakout here in the price, because if the price forms a new higher high in the weekly candle closes, which could be a likely scenario here considering we're very close to all-time highs, if that happens, once again, that will just temporarily invalidate the bearish divergence. But if the RSI is still sitting in lower highs compared to this previous high here, in that case, we could potentially just confirm a new bearish divergence later on at some point, maybe in the next few weeks or months. And so this is still something to pay attention to as it continues forming here on the weekly time frame. But overall, once again, slightly more bullish than bearish considering this is still technically a bull market, but lacking momentum at least for now. And if we're taking a look at this 3-day time frame, it's a similar situation here. We're moving closer towards a possible bullish crossover in the 3-day Bitcoin MACD, but at least for now, this MACD indicator is still not really showing a lot of bullish momentum. But as the price of Bitcoin plays out this short-term bullish price action, we're actually getting very close to potentially breaking out above some very crucial levels on the price chart. So as we can see here on this 3-day Bitcoin price chart, we have this line of resistance based on all of these highs right here, and that's sitting at approximately $110,000 per Bitcoin. And we can see that we potentially have a massive cup and handle pattern forming on this 3-day Bitcoin price chart with a cup and a handle already now formed on the price chart. All we need to see is simply a confirmed breakout with a candle close above this neckline here. So basically breaking out into all-time highs in order to technically confirm the price pattern and set up the bullish price target. And some people are looking at this as a potential inverse head and shoulders pattern, as we can see here. But either way, whether you're looking at it as an inverse head and shoulders pattern or a cup and handle pattern, it gives us basically the same price target anyway. And so speaking about that possible bullish price target, which once again has not yet actually confirmed, but if we confirm a breakout here into basically all-time highs with candle closes above those levels, in that situation, that will set up a massive bullish price target for this massive bullish price pattern sitting at just above $150,000 per Bitcoin, around 153,000. So from the point of the breakout at close to 110,000 to that price target, that's close to a 40% move towards the upside with no leverage, or for example, a 10x leverage long position would be almost a 400% profit in that example. But I want to make some important disclaimers. First of all, that possible price target is not currently in play because we've not yet confirmed a breakout for this cup and handle pattern here. And also, of course, even if we confirm a breakout and set up that bullish price target, we will likely have points of resistance along the way. It's not like the price will just go there in a straight line. And of course, we also have to be aware of other price charts showing things like momentum. So for example, if we're still lacking momentum, even if we activate this bullish price target, don't necessarily expect a significant bullish move straight away if the momentum is lacking. We could basically see a bit of a breakout and then basically not see a lot of follow through if we still have relatively weak momentum. And so, of course, that's why I cover all of these Bitcoin price charts in these videos, not just look at one chart by itself, but that is something to pay attention to in case it actually confirms here. And speaking about confirming, looking at this daily Bitcoin price chart, we are potentially just on the edge or possibly already confirming, depending on how you're looking at this, confirming this falling wedge pattern on the daily time frame. So as we can see, we have this descending line of resistance sitting at really just underneath 109,000. And over the last one day, we confirmed one daily candle close pretty much almost right on 109,000, around 108.9k. And based on how I've drawn this line right here, we've technically just confirmed one daily candle close very slightly above this line. But ideally, for extra confirmation, I'd like to see this daily candle close actually confirm ideally above 109,000 for extra confirmation to be a little bit more confident in this bullish breakout. And then as always, it is important for the price to simply hold above this level now on the price chart, because if we were to see a confirmed break with candle closes back to the downside below this line right here at around 108.5k to 109k, if we break back below that area in that situation, of course, that will just invalidate this bullish breakout and potentially just invalidate this price pattern altogether. And so keep in mind, we do have some early signs confirming this breakout, but once again, ideally, I'd like to see a little bit more confirmation here. And speaking about the technical price targets for this possible falling wedge pattern, the first price target is simply the top of the wedge at basically the all-time high at close to 112,000. And if we're taking a look at the secondary price target, looking at a measured move from the point of the breakout here, that sets up another price target at approximately almost 119,000, just under 119,000. So from where we are right now, close to this breakout here to that price target, that's roughly around a 9% move towards the upside with no leverage. But once again, ideally, I would like to see a little bit more confirmation here to be more confident in that price target. And as always, we'll likely find resistance along the way. First of all, looking at this Bitcoin price chart on the daily time frame, we have some strong resistance I'll be expecting at close to all-time highs. So at around 112,000, and also more resistance at around 110,000 I'll talk about in just a moment. And as for support, I'll still expect a lot of support at 103,000 and of course at around 98,000 if the price were to actually go back to those levels. But if we're zooming into the shorter term, taking a look at the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart, we can see that just over the last one day, we've now confirmed multiple 6-hour candle closes above this short-term area of resistance, which was sitting in between 108.5k to 109,000, and we saw multiple perfect rejections from this area, as we could see. So obviously that was acting as important resistance, but just over the last one day, we've not only seen a confirmed breakout with candle closes above this area, we actually saw a short-term retest, and so far a bit of a bounce from this area, flipping previous resistance into new support, which is bullish price structure. And so obviously this is bullish for the price of Bitcoin, at least in the short term, and pointing towards potentially a continued bullish move towards the next resistance. And this next area of resistance is sitting in between around 110,000 to 110.5k. And so once again, expect some short-term resistance, expect some struggle around that area on the price chart, possibly rejections. But with that being said, if we break out above around 110,000 to 110.5k, once again, expect a bit more resistance close to the all-time high at close to 112,000. And then obviously, once we break out above that level, we're simply at new all-time highs, and we're just going to likely head towards these next price targets. And as for short-term support, I'd now expect support based on this previous resistance flipping into new support in this price range in between 108.5k to 109,000, now acting as support. But if we were to break back below that area, obviously in the short term, that would be a bearish signal, likely pointing towards a drop back down towards this area in between around 105.5k to 106.5k as a new area of support that I'm focusing on. And if we're taking a quick look at this 12-hour Bitcoin price chart, once again, as I've already been talking about over the last couple of days, we're just now starting to see a spike in the historical volatility indicator, basically showing us that we're now finally starting to see more volatility after a period of very low volatility. And based on the current price action here in the short term, it is looking like that obviously we are heading in the bullish direction for this next volatile move. So obviously this is good news for Bitcoin moving forward. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, just over the last one day, we've now precisely taken out the liquidity that I've been targeting for days now here on the channel. And so first of all, we did have some downside liquidity just a couple of days ago that was building at around 106,000, and then we wiped out that liquidity to the downside with a short-term dump. And then ultimately, once we already took out that liquidity, the only liquidity remaining that was really a significant level in the short term was at around 109,000, as I've been talking about over the last few days. And we've now exactly hit that $109,000 level to take out that liquidity. And so now that this has happened, we can see that we don't really have a lot of significant levels of liquidity in the immediate short term, at least based on this time frame right here. But if we're zooming out to the 1 month time frame, looking at the last 1 month worth of price action, we can see that we do now have a significant level of liquidity to pay attention to that is very close to the current price, and that is sitting at very close to 111,000. Around 110.9k to 111,000 is the next short-term price target based on the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. And so once again, this chart right here is telling us that we're likely going to see a little bit more bullish price action. But as always, keep in mind these short-term points of resistance where the price could potentially struggle at as well. And so overall, those are my expectations in the short term. I continue to expect the price to move towards this liquidity. Just don't forget that we do have some resistance around here, so the price could struggle around here first of all, but ultimately we're looking slightly more bullish than bearish, but on the much larger time frames, still somewhat lacking momentum. But if you want to get set up ready to go to take advantage of these massive trading opportunities, which are only potentially just beginning, of course, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I'm taking a lot of my crypto trades over on BTNX, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive trading bonuses, like for example, up to $45,000 in trading bonuses, and also massive deposit bonuses. For example, if you deposit just $1,000, you get a $200 bonus into your BTNX account, but only if you use that link. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, or if you're preparing to take the next trading opportunity, you might as well get set up ready to go using the link below this video, the first link below this video to BTNX, if you want to claim these massive bonuses. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX as an exchange, there's also 2bit as another option out there, another exchange that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you could also claim some massive trading bonuses, like for example, up to $50,000 in trading bonuses using the link below this video just by trading crypto, and also a $30 sign up bonus and a 20% deposit rebate up to a max of 200 USDT. So for example, if you deposit just $1,000, you get a $200 bonus into your 2bit account. But once again, only if you use that link. And in case you're wondering, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, and Ethereum is now obviously bouncing from this exact level on the price chart, this retracement level acting as strong support, sitting at close to 2.4k, really in between around 2380 to 2.4k as the key support to focus on. And so obviously this is bullish price structure. This is a bullish signal for Ethereum now that we've successfully bounced from this level, once again confirming it as support and obviously continuing a bounce and now a breakout above this short-term level of resistance, which was sitting at roughly 2.5k. So now that we're breaking out above that level of resistance, ultimately we're on our way towards the next significant area of resistance, which is sitting in between around 2.7k to 2.8k. And so I'll not be surprised now if the price actually continues a bullish move towards that area, but then expect a lot of resistance, expect a lot of struggle as we approach that area right there. As we've seen many times in the past, we've seen multiple rejections from this area, as we can see. So we'll likely find a lot of resistance in between roughly 2.7k to 2.8k. But then only if we confirm a breakout with candle closes above 2.8k and actually holding that ideally as new support, only in that situation, of course, I would expect a continued bullish move towards this next Fibonacci level, sitting at roughly around 3.2k to 3.3k. But for now, just focus on around 2.7k to 2.8k. And if we're taking a look at this daily Ethereum price chart, we're now starting to see some invalidation signals to actually invalidate this bearish divergence. And so just over the last 1 day, we can now see that we've actually formed a higher low in the RSI alongside a higher low in the price. And not only that, the RSI in general on the daily time frame is starting to now trend in the bullish direction with now higher lows once again, but also higher highs starting starting to form in the daily RSI, which is an invalidation signal. That's a sign of strength and pointing towards an invalidation of this bearish divergence. And so overall, I'll not necessarily be expecting a lot of weakness in the short term anymore. Obviously, that's what I've been saying every day over the last couple of weeks. And so far, over the last couple of weeks, that's exactly what we've seen. Obviously, a lot of weakness for Ethereum. But now that we're starting to see signs of strength and invalidating the bearish divergence and breaking out above short-term resistance, obviously, as I just said earlier, I do expect a little bit more of a short-term bullish relief towards this next significant resistance as the most likely scenario here. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the daily time frame, it's a similar situation for Solana because just over the last 1 to 2 days, we actually retested this crucial area on the price chart in between around 143 to 146, and then we perfectly bounced from within that area, as we can see. So previously, this has been very important resistance and also very important support. So now that it is obviously continuing to act as support and holding as support, and we're bouncing from that area, once again, that is a bullish signal for Solana. And we're also potentially starting to break out above this short-term resistance at roughly around 155, give or take. But so far, as of recording this video, it's still early to say that. Obviously, we've not really seen a lot of confirmation to confirm the breakout above 155. But if this breakout continues beyond 155, we could find a bit of short-term resistance around 158 to 159. And then above that, I would expect more resistance at around 167. And so now that we're bouncing from this very important level on the price chart, and of course, now that Ethereum is continuing a short-term bullish relief, a breakout above short-term resistance, and of course, Bitcoin breaking out above key levels on the price chart, this will likely influence the price of Solana to continue a bullish relief towards these next points of resistance, and then of course expect some struggle potentially around these points of resistance. And we're also possibly forming a massive inverse head and shoulders pattern. First of all, we possibly have a bit of a short-term inverse head and shoulders pattern here, but it's not really a proper inverse head and shoulders pattern. This right shoulder, for example, is not really a proper shoulder. It's just a single candle towards the downside, but we're possibly forming a much larger inverse head and shoulders pattern, as we can see, if we continue a bullish relief towards roughly 167 and then see a strong rejection from that area, come back towards these current prices basically, or slightly lower prices, and then form a right shoulder, obviously that would form a massive inverse head and shoulders pattern, which would be a massive bullish price pattern in that scenario. But obviously it's still very early to tell if that will actually confirm. It's just something that's possibly forming, so it's something to point out there, but once again, not currently confirmed, nothing to act on right now. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the 12-hour time frame, while Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin are playing out short-term pumps, short-term bullish reliefs, of course, this is influencing the price of XRP. As I always say, for XRP and most altcoins, just pay attention to what Bitcoin is doing and other altcoins, because if Bitcoin and the major altcoins are playing out bullish price action, we'll likely see something similar for XRP and other altcoins, and vice versa. If Bitcoin, for example, has a major dump, we'll likely see something similar for a lot of these major altcoins. And so with Bitcoin and the other cryptos looking more bullish than bearish in the short term, once again, this is influencing the price of XRP, pointing towards more bullish price action in the short term towards these next points of resistance. And now that we're starting to break out above this point of resistance here, which was sitting at roughly around $2.25, give or take, obviously that's another short-term bullish signal, especially if we confirm this candle close above $2.25. And so now that we're breaking out above that level, expect a continued bullish move towards this next crucial area of resistance, sitting in between roughly 231 to 235. And if the price of XRP actually confirms a breakout with candle closes above $2.35, ideally on the daily time frame with a daily candle close above $2.35, in that situation would at least likely see a move up towards around 243 to 244. But if we break out above that level, then expect a continued bullish move towards this local high. It's the most likely scenario at close towards around 260 and really just above $2.60. And so ultimately, the moment we see a confirmed breakout above 235, that would be a significant increase in the probability that we actually continue a move towards roughly 262, once again, just above 260. So for example, if you were to, let's just say, trade that move, as always, not financial advice, but from roughly around 236, let's just say, towards roughly 260, that's about a 10% move towards the upside with no leverage, or for example, with a quick 10x leverage long position, that would be around a 100% profit in that scenario, essentially doubling your money. But as always, that is not personal financial advice, because I don't know your personal financial situation. That's just sharing a possible trading opportunity based on a possible entry point, a breakout, and a possible price target, a significant point of resistance. But overall, once again, with Bitcoin and a lot of the other altcoins looking more bullish than bearish, expect a little bit more short-term bullish price action for XRP as a very likely scenario now. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the 12-hour time frame, of course, just like what I've been saying throughout the video, Chainlink is indeed playing out some short-term bullish price action and starting to break out above this short-term resistance here, which was really an area in between roughly 1360 towards around 1380. And as I'm recording this video, we're just starting to break out above 1380, but we're still waiting for some confirmation, still waiting for candle closes above 1380. But if we ideally confirm this breakout above 1380, in that situation, would likely see a move at least towards around 1440 to 1450 as the next important resistance. And then above that level, the next significant resistance is in between around 1530 to 1550. And then it would be very likely that the price would struggle or potentially reject from that area, because obviously that's been a very important area on the price chart for the price of Chainlink. But obviously we first need to actually get there, and between now and then we do have a bit of short-term resistance to pay attention to. But overall, we're looking more bullish than bearish now, especially now that we're starting to invalidate this previous bearish divergence, but possibly form a new bearish divergence, which is not yet confirmed. So first of all, obviously we've just seen a breakout above these previous highs, which now technically invalidates the bearish divergence. But now that the price is forming a new higher high, at least for now on the 4-hour Chainlink price chart, we're still technically forming lower highs in the 4-hour Chainlink RSI. And so what this means is that we do have a possible risk of a new bearish divergence forming and possibly confirming. But I want to make this clear, this possible new bearish divergence that is forming, it is not yet confirmed. We now need to reconfirm a new bearish divergence because the previous bearish divergence is now invalid. And so unless this actually confirms, ultimately, once again, we are more bullish than bearish. Expect a continued bullish relief towards these next important points of resistance. And then only if this potentially confirms, then we might see a little bit of a cool off in the meantime. But overall, that is the situation and the key levels to watch out for all of these cryptos. And once again, if you want to get set up ready to go to take these trading opportunities, get set up ready to go using the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade these moves, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.